Welcome to the American Society of Quality Lean Enterprise Division 2016 webinar series. By listening to our webinar series, you will get the best of the best in the lean industry. Stay tuned to the end of this recording for more details. This month, our speaker is George Trachilis, the president of Lean Leadership Institute. This webinar is based on the book George co-authored with Jeffrey Liker, Developing Lean Leaders at All Levels, a Practical Guide. The Lean Leadership Development Model is the centerpiece of an entire workshop at the Lean Leadership Institute. Let's join George and his associates, Sam Bickford and Tom Lawless, as they present Developing Lean Leaders at All Levels, a Practical Guide.
Now, I want to tell everybody, look, the premier provider of lean education, come on, we know it's, Lean Enterprise Institute, I think, but you got to fake it till you make it. Somebody, and you know, we just had a conversation about this the other day. You got to predict the future and work backwards. So this is 10 years from now, okay? Just so everybody knows. I'm not lying on purpose, or, you know, I am, but I'm not. All right, let's get started. Can you hear me? First of all, Paul, can you hear me?
Just a second. Yes, everybody can hear you, and we're good to go.
All right. First question. This really is interesting because when I look at lean over the last 20 years that I've been applying lean, I started in 1994, and in 1994 I was working for Greyhound buses, and we had about 10,000 parts that needed to get onto a bus. I started in Pembina, North Dakota, and did standards. We created standards. They were a little different than the lean standards, but they were standards nonetheless. And in the process of 20 years, when I think about successes and failures and what's something to tap into, what isn't, it has to be born from passion. I think no matter what you do, no matter what business you invest in, no matter where you're looking to apply things, look at how it was born. Now, lean thinking and Santorini are my passion. I would ask you to think about what your passion is outside of family. So just please write it down. Write it down. I love doing. I don't love talking. I don't love sitting around. I love a nap. I mean, I love napping. Don't get me wrong. I love napping. But I love doing. I learn by doing. And I learn by testing things. This is another test. Like I got the screen here. I don't know if you can see it. It's a test for me. I'm recording it as well so I can see if it actually works. And I'm far away from home. I'm doing a test. Okay, what are the three values you hold? Mine are respect, trust, and I used to say this thing called truthfulness. Truthfulness. But one person's truth and another person's truth may be a little different. So we called it honesty. Those are my three values. Think about your values. What values do you have? And this is a great time, again, close the door, write it down. Write down the three values you have. And what are you darn good at? I'm darn good at finding and satisfying customers. I'm a really good salesperson, they tell me. And a long time ago, I used to take an order, turn it around in 3 minutes, and collect cash. Now, I was 9 years old. I was working at my dad's restaurant, okay? So maybe it doesn't count. But 9 years old, working at my dad's restaurant, opening up a window, saying, what would you like? And they'd say an ice cream, and I'd go make the ice cream or a burger or fries. It was wonderful. 9 years later, I owned my own restaurant. My father and I went into business, and then my father, just like Sakichi Toyota, you'll see it later, says, George, you're working really hard. What do you want? And I said, I want a brand new car. And I bought the 1987 Mustang GT, first couple that came into the city of Winnipeg. My brother had the other one. And I think about the 9 years I spent learning to the time I was 18, where I took window orders way back, but then I fired, I did all of the bartending, all of the waitering. We hired waitresses. I did the hiring and firing. What a great experience, and it started me off. I just want to let you know that you got to find what you're darn good at, what you're passionate about, and get that to happen in your world. Now, Lean thinking came about, and I started my business in 2003 on lean thinking. I adopted the principles. I haven't looked back one day ever since. I'm passionate about it. I want to introduce to you Tom Lawless. He's my partner. He's a 5% owner in the company, and every partner will own 5% in my company. There'll be 20 of us in about a year. And Sam Bickford, he's a customer from Australia. He's up at 3:30 this morning to actually answer questions. So Sam, can I get you to take yourself off mute? I don't know if that's possible. Say hello to the group and
Hello, everyone.
Tell them something about yourself.
Well, you can see my very short bio is on the screen. But yeah, like George said, it's 3:30 in the morning, and I'm at the office to be a part of this. And I mean, I can run through the bio really quickly, but I think what George has gone over is really important, that find your passion, because I don't think I'd be sitting in my office doing this at the moment if I wasn't passionate about it. And that's what's really made a difference in my life, and it's starting to make a real difference in the company I work for. You want some more than that, George, or?
No, that's good for now. I mean, tell them about how we started and where you're at. You're a lean leader. Tell the group what kind of questions they should throw your way later on when the question time comes.
Oh, look, I've been working with George since probably middle of November, I think, last year, and I've been through his Developing Lean Leaders at All Levels course. It's been incredibly hard and challenging, but you know, without that challenge, you don't feel the success. So I've made some pretty major changes in my life through the journey, even though it's a very short journey so far. And now I'm ready for questions about how you start implementing these changes, not only in yourself, but have them start to make a change in other people's lives and help them feel more satisfied, not just at work, but outside of work as well.
Well, thank you, Sam. I hope everybody asks Sam questions. This webinar is probably going to go late, but I'll try to wrap it up, and then we'll stay around for half an hour. Is that okay, Sam?
Yep, that's fine. I've got all the time in the world.
Right on. Okay, Tom, say hello to the group and tell the group who you are, what you're trying to do.
All right, my name's Tom Lawless. Like George said, I'm a VP and partner at Lean Leadership Institute. My passions include Lean Six Sigma, transforming companies, and fishing. So, myself and George were talking earlier today about how do you lead, how do you change environments, and we say go to the Gemba all the time, but it's more than just walking down the hallway to get a cup of coffee and saying you went to the Gemba. You actually have to go out and you have to talk to people. So anyway, I've been doing this for 25, 30 years, since I was about 3 years old, I guess. And it's all you, George.
Okay, so we got a lot of ability to answer questions. What I'm going to do is I want to avoid talking about myself. I'd like to get right into the book if I can. But before I do, I got to say that now, what's the book about? It's about Monozukuri and Hitozukuri, which is good people making good products. What my passion is lean thinking, but I had a problem with how sustainable lean was, and I'm hoping that this book solves that problem for you too. I've had bad experiences with consultants as a manager in a company. I mean, I was a manager in the first company I was telling you about. I said to the group, I said, let's stop the line. I mean, we've got too many shortages. You got to rework line. Let's stop the line. A consultant came by, was listening to everything I said. I love how they listen. Wrote it in a report, gave it to my boss's boss, who gave it to my boss, who gave it to me, and said, George, these are all great ideas. Let's implement them. This consultant is awesome. And that was my first experience with consulting. So I went into the field. Okay, I can't tell you much more than that. Judoka was born from need, and Just in Time was born from challenge. I'd like you to go to lean2016.com to watch a great video that I put together in my last trip to Japan just a couple months ago. So take a look at that video, and it'll tell you a little bit about it. But I want to know what the audience looks like. So this is a great time to do a poll. I want to know what industry or groupings of industries you're in so I can talk to specifically whether you're a novice or whether you've got a lot of experience, and the conversation is very different. And how I approach it is very different. And how much fun I make about our industry is very different. So what do we do now, Paul? Do we wait for the answers?
Yeah, give about, about 10, 15 seconds here. Everything's coming in. It won't take very much longer.
Can they still hear me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, good. Here's my guess. My guess is 20% are from manufacturing with less than 5 years, 20% more than 5 from manufacturing, and 60% in the other industries, with 50% less than 5 years out of that 60. So 5, 6. That's my guess. Now, it's important to know that's my experiment. I mean, if I had to throw one out there and take a guess, that's my guess. Where are we at?
27%, number one, which is managing less than 5 years, or manufacturing less than 5 years. 38%, manufacturing more than 5 years. 19, other industry less than 5. 17, other industry more than 5.
Okay, so mostly manufacturing, and a good quarter of you have less than 5 years experience, another quarter have more than 5. Do I got it right? In manufacturing?
Yes.
So here's what I'll do. It's a 50-50 scenario. I'm going to talk to you from a learner standpoint, and I want to say right off the hop, no matter what, if you are a master of something, you're still a learner. So I'm going to talk to you from my learner's perspective, but there's going to be some coaches in the group, and I'll give you some real good ideas as a coach on where to focus if you're focusing through this book. There's so many things that we got to talk about regarding the book. And there's 8 chapters. I'm probably going to go through really quickly some of these chapters, and I'll focus just a little bit about lean in other industries as well. Here's my community page. Please go get this video is actually there. This particular video is there, but with a little fun in it. I did a one take, and I made it a little fun, so if you want to forward it to others, go ahead, or use this webinar. That's great. And the book is at that other link. Again, it's under leanleadership.guru. Number one, if you were to say to me, George, what is the number one piece of advice you have for people out there learning lean or, hey, existing? This is my new mantra. Keep your cup right side up. Which means if you're in your office right now, you got people walking around, coming in and out, lock the door, grab a pen and paper. It's so important you got paper and a pencil or a pen. I mean, how many of you have a pencil lately? And you're starting to write down some great questions. Any long questions, email me, Skype me, Voxer me, you'll figure it out. Any short questions, by all means, let's get those out as soon as possible, which will be, maybe in 10 minutes I'll stop and we'll ask some questions. Keep your cup right side up. Be able to be filled. So please don't educate me. Please don't educate me. What it is listen to what I'm saying, try to accept it. And here's what happens is we reject things that don't fall into our acceptance. We reject it automatically because we don't have the time, the energy, the brain power to actually work through it. So write down very specific questions, and we will get really far here. Okay, here it is. Number one thing, develop people through challenge. Yes, we as individuals, we need to be able to have our cup right side up to be filled from the world around us. But as a coach, we got to challenge others. Think of this as every coach, every manager should be a coach. Every coach should actually work in the organization. I suggest you get rid of all the consultants you have, unless you're a consultant, then you could stay wherever you are. Okay? Get rid of all the consultants you have. Use your managers in a very deep way and start training consultants to be second coaches and your managers to be coaches of their people, and ask them one question. Out of your group of people, who's challenged to what level and why? And let them give you some idea of what their challenge is, why they're challenged at that level, why not more, why not less. And here's the big aha for me out of this book. When Jeff and I were talking about this, I said, I want to put a visual together. And here it is. On the left-hand side, you'll see too little stress means we're not productive. And as you see, like, here's what I'll do, is I'll show you here. Here's me, too little stress. My productivity level here is down low, really low. Then as the challenge comes up, performance goes up. Productivity performance goes up with more challenge, and then of course you get a declining return. If there's too much stress, the performance goes down again. Finding that sweet spot, every manager needs to figure that out. Now Sam is a perfect example of what I've done to Sam. I've kicked him up with dopamine. Sam is a dope addict. So when we first started, I remember Sam was a little hesitant, maybe a little negative, I think by his own admission, but I started encouraging Sam, and I said, come on, Sam, you can do it. I found a true potential in Sam that I just couldn't believe it. And how did I find it? It's always there. I think it's there in everybody. You have to encourage them to go get it, go get more. And challenge them, watch them meet the challenge, encourage them, watch, and now Sam is my coach. He encourages me every day. I have him on Voxer every day. He says, George, come on, tell me what's going on. How did you do yesterday? How many steps did you do yesterday? Because he knows I'm working on my health. Okay, so this is a key visual. I put one like that in my book. I don't want to talk about it, but if you get my book, you'll see the same thing. I put my book for sale for free. But my publisher did it too early, and now it's $1.99. I can only lower it to $1.99. Get it if you will. Now in 2011, I said to the world, I'm coming from a great stint in consulting, and I'm thinking, what do I want to do next? I want to travel the world consulting over the internet. I want to consult on lean over the internet, which violates every Gemba law that we know of. But I figured it out. I said, I can have lean communications, and I created a process for lean communication. It means generally use the least amount of words as possible, make the connection, and we could do it over the phone, on Voxer, over video, have lean communication conversations with managers, executives everywhere in the world, and help them through what they need. I give them great information in a matter of seconds. My consulting today costs 1/30 of what everybody else's costs, and I get the same results. That's my number right now, 1/30. When in 2011 I met Jeff Leiker, I started using the coach, the course, and I got to WUWAG Aviation in Switzerland. 18 green belts went through the course. We tested the course. It went really good. Here's one thing of value, and I think about value. Look at what these guys did. They were under pressure from the Swiss Air Force, and they said you have 2 years to get your stuff together, reduce your costs, otherwise this work is going elsewhere. They started getting people to look at the work they were working on. If you take a look at the top left corner, that little pin is 1/16 of an inch. And they said if you drop a pin and lose it, it's like dropping a camera. That heat exchanger, if you drop that, you just dropped the Ferrari Testarossa. I mean, it's amazing. When I was in 1996 working for Standard Aero, they told us we had gloves on because, of course, you can leave oil prints on engine parts. They said if you could hold it in the palm of your hand, it's worth $30,000. And it's true. It's true. Palm of your hand, $30,000. It's just amazing. Now, my challenge last year, oh boy, this is a picture of me and Paul Akers. I don't know if you know Paul Akers. He's a wonderful guy. I challenged myself to lose 75 pounds, and I did it in August. I said, Paul, I'm going to lose 75 pounds by December 2016. And he said, great, let's do it. So I went up this mountain. We got to the top finally, and I was the last one up on top of the mountain, but that's okay. I tried real hard, and I've been practicing before that. And I told everybody, I got more than one person to carry up that mountain. I've got 2 people. I was 308 pounds when it started. Now, my wife helps me, of course. There's this George's Bistro is closed for the evening, and I walk every day for Christmas. I gave myself 40,000 steps for Christmas. I just love it. I found what's called a craving, and when you get into a routine and you find a craving, it's over. It's done. I'm going to lose another 40 pounds. I'm 60 pounds down, and I'm going to try to lose another 40 by December this year. to make it 100 pounds, so I will have gone far above my goal. Now, I highly recommend you stretch yourself as a leader in something you want to change to see how difficult it is to change an organization, because they have to go through the same exact thing. All right, Magellan Aerospace, I worked there. It was a tier 2 supplier to the, one of my favorite aircrafts was the Joint Strike Fighter, and they were supplying parts to British Aerospace in England, and British Aerospace was supplying Fort Worth, Texas, and I got my NATO secret status. I was the director of continuous improvement and supply chain at this company, and we were going through Hoshin Connery. I developed the Hoshin for them, and I developed the hard goals, and we started going through catch-ball sessions, and let me tell you, the way it is in books is a little different than the way it is in reality, so we could talk a little bit about that, but I prefer to later during the questions. Retail stores, I love retail stores, except they hate me. I can't find anything in retail stores. When Princess Auto came to me, and it was the son of the owner of one of my customers, one of my customers' sons came to me and said, George, I want you to come to our store, help us rearrange it. And I said, this is great. We organized the store, we put the color coding in flyers, we did tests. One test was, how can you find the items, how many mistakes do you make? And it took 22 minutes for the team leader to do it. And then we took somebody who didn't know anything with our new system. It took 9 minutes. Chilakas Dental Group, wow. I go to the dentist. I sit down in the operatory room. Hygienist comes in, cleans my teeth, and then says, George, you'll have to wait for Ernest Chilakas to come. I said, okay. I waited 10 minutes, and when Dr. Chilakas came in, I said, Ernest, this is crazy. Lean is about looking at motion and what's wasteful from the customer's perspective. And this last 10 minutes, you should pay me. I'm $300 an hour, so you figure out what 10 out of 60 is, 1/6, and I want that money back. I don't want you to charge me. And so he got mad. No, he didn't. I didn't tell him that. Okay, look, I said it in a nice way. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Let me help you. I mean, you got to get organized. You got 8 dentists here running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Look at this. And he says, absolutely. So we created our own icons in a value stream map, looked at the future state, where we want to go, created a future state map, current state, and then we said, here's our Kaizen events. We went at it. 4 times the productivity and reduced the lead time, by 4 times as well for the patient, because they were just organized. It was just, so much better. So there's so many ways to do it. We also went to the Crown and their suppliers who supplied crowns, and we put them on a schedule daily versus the weekly schedule they were getting. So it was just great. It was a pull system. All right, here's the book. Now, it was born from my love for lean. I heard from Norman Bodek after I took the Harada Method course that he knows Jeff Leiker. He interviewed him for the Harada Method book. And I said, Norman, I'd love to talk to Jeff. And Jeff was coming to my hometown of Winnipeg, Canada. I picked him up at the airport, and I convinced him somehow to do 4 webinars with me, which was great. He did 4 webinars. And then all of a sudden, a big customer calls, and it was Philips in the Netherlands. And they said, George and Jeff, your webinars are too advanced. Lean leadership right now is not what we need. We need the basics. We need lean and lean leadership. We need problem solving, A3 thinking. We need standards and standardized work. And we created those webinars, put it together, and created a course. And from the course came a book. This book now is published by me. I became a publisher. It got translated into 6 different languages. We won the Shingo Prize just recently. We're going to pick it up at the end of the month. Jeff's going to be there, so if you guys are going to Washington, let him know. And we sold the course to Italy, and I'm in the middle of selling it to Brazil, and I want to sell it to every country where I've got a contact. So they will be part of my organization. We've got a crazy goal at the end I'll share with you. I've got a crazy goal with Paul Akers, and I want to share it with you because I want you to add 7 years to your life. What does that mean? They found in a study, and I'll tell you it later, that with purpose in your life, you add 7 years to your life. I want you to do that today. I want you to think deeply about why you wake up in the morning. Think about what it is you really want. Are you living the dream? I mean, I'm dancing around my house all day. The only thing better for me is if I could dance in my sleep, except sometimes I drink coffee late at night and dogs are chasing me. So that scares the hell out of me. But look, you gotta live the dream. All right, let's get started. I think this might be, I don't know, a good time to have people chime in and say, George, here's what I really want to know, or here's what I really want you to touch on before I go through the book. So is this a good time for you, Paul, to have people, kind of interrupt?
Sure, you bet. In fact, so if anybody has any specific questions, I've got a couple of questions, but if anybody has any specific questions, we'll take a couple of minutes here. The two questions.
Let's do this, Paul. Why don't you interrupt as they come up? If the question comes up, get people to type it in, interrupt, and then I'll also say the same for Sam and Tom. Guys, really, interrupt, okay?
Okay, perfect. Lean seems to be intuitive to me. Why does it seem so hard for others to grasp?
I don't know. I really don't know. Tom and I were talking about this a week ago, and we said, thank God people aren't getting it. We'd be out of a job. I mean, I don't understand it. The Greeks are screwed up. The Greeks are screwed up. And I'll tell you what I learned from Jeff Leiker. This is very, very interesting. There was a study done in Parma, Italy, and they were testing monkeys. They were putting probes in their brains, and they were testing monkeys for something or other. And what happened was they were looking at where the mirror neurons were firing, and everything was great. And the guy, one of the technicians, forgot to turn off the machine. And they had monkeys grabbing food and eating food, and a certain part of their brain would go off. Now, what happened was this technician picked up a peanut, which is the food they were eating, picked up a peanut, and he heard the machine go crazy. And so the monkey said, I'm eating that peanut. Literally, in their brain, the monkey had mirror neurons, and it's like a monkey see, monkey do neuron, they call it. And as the monkey is watching the technician eat the peanut, the monkey thinks it's eating the peanut. So, moral of the story is this: we can connect with people doing things because we see it. That's the moral of the story. But here's the other sad part, is as we've kind of ingrained our neural pathways down a certain way, we instill habits that we have a very hard time shaking. And I can tell you over the last 6 months, I've violated a lot of these habits out of sheer brain power or willpower, just violated my habits. Yesterday, for the first time in 40 years, I'm 49, I've done a fast. Yesterday, one day, I did a one-day fast. I didn't think it was possible, but I tried it. Now, that goes completely against the mirror neurons. We have certain pathways that we've set. People who are comfortable and have done things over and over as far as a habit, they're unable to see what the waste is. And when I went into a company, any company I go into, I think about all the smart people I meet. I went into Princess Auto. They did cylinders as well as the retail store. But in the cylinder manufacturing business, I went up and I looked at, did a spaghetti map of their flow, and I said, you don't need an extra warehouse. And it was in front of 8 people plus the VP of operations. I said, you guys are crazy. You're dumb. Look at this. And I showed them the flow chart, and I said, you're crazy for doing it this way. Well, the VP of operations stood up, and I thought he was a German guy. I thought he was going to punch me in the face, and he threw out his hand. He says, George, that's unbelievable. Let's get you started. Okay. I thought, that's a good way to get work. I thought he was going to punch me in the face. Instead, he shakes my hand. Why? Because it was ingrained. You get into a habit, be very, very weary of getting into a habit that you don't want to have. After 5, 6, 7, 8 times, you're done. You'll never see the waste. That's the problem. That's why Paul Akers, if you look at the Paul Akers system of doing things 2-second lean, he forces you out of your comfort zone every day with one thing, and basically those mirror neurons don't have you know, or yeah, they don't have time to ingrain in one thing. You're always looking to make changes. That's the key. That's Kaizen. That's doing something every day. So that's my explanation of it. I don't know if that's too long. I'm sure it's too long. Otherwise, we'll never get through this. But it's so important to recognize the habits we're in, and 50% of everything we do is invisible to us as waste. Somebody else can come in and see it.
Let's do a couple more and realize that Sam and Tom, you're welcome to chime in at any time. What should a lean leader not do?
Oh, that's a good one. Lean leader not do. Basically everything. Don't do everything you're doing today. This is like interesting because when I looked at value added, what's value added? What's value? Value is something the customer is willing to pay for. And what's waste? Waste is something the customer is not willing to pay for, rework, and all of these other things, or a duplicate process. That's all waste. And we used to say, what is value added and how do you define it? And we said, forget value added. Forget it. Look at all the waste, man. Forget the value added. It's like a needle in a haystack. Forget it. Get rid of the haystack. And that's what I'm saying to you. As a lean leader, stop doing everything you're doing. Just stop it right now. It's for sure wrong. Okay, now I say that because I was doing lean for 20 years. Starting in 1994, when I got into just-in-time and I worked with Bob Bailey from Hewlett-Packard. He set up all the Kanban systems. I set up an entire plant using Kanban. I learned all the tools. And when I think about me as a lean leader, if I were to call myself a lean leader, I would rather have started from scratch. So I'm telling you, start from scratch. The first thing you do, forget what you don't do everything. First thing you do is go and watch. Challenge yourself to something. Challenge yourself to become a lean leader and go and watch. Watch a process and watch how it unfolds. It's amazing how we don't do the basics. Get back to the basics. I don't know if that helps.
I agree. I'll just interject just a little bit. I totally agree. I think the things that we get away from, leaders get away from the simple things, training, coaching, mentoring, what are the two pillars of Toyota? Continuous improvement and respect for people, right? Well, one of the things that I see leaders, especially in the U.S., do is they don't respect their people. They say they respect their people, but they don't show that they respect their people. Respecting people is listening to them and really listening. And I think that's one of the things that leaders need to show that they really care about the person and their opinion. Hey, face it, we're all people, right? How do we feel when people don't listen to us? Okay, they're no different. Our employees are no different.
What did you say? What did you say, Tom? What did you say there? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. A little levity. Okay.
So I've got one more here.
I love that.
Got one more here.
Okay.
How do you get the leaders?
But you're right. Listen, I asked Joanne, I said to Joanne, in all seriousness, husband and wife, you don't ask this question, but I said in business, what do you think is the #1 skill that people need? And she hit the nail on the head. Listening skills. #1 skill. We don't have it.
Just, if I can interrupt quickly as well, just on that last question. George, you said earlier about finding people's passion, or you asked everyone what their passion was, and I think that's really critical. What you shouldn't do is push people in a direction they don't want to go in. If you can allow people to work to what they're passionate about, then you're on the road to success straight away.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. That's great. And we're seeing that now. I mean, I'm not even pushing anybody. I'm saying, what are you passionate about? Let me help you get there. Let me help you get there. Okay, let me try to rock through a few slides. Okay, guys? All right, Sakichi Toyota, wonderful. He started with the Toyota, the Loom. I think, guys, honestly, there's a video that I put on the internet at lean2016.com. Go there. You'll see the video of Sakichi Toyota. And here's something I got from Amazawa to talk about Automation with a human touch. And Amazawa, if you don't know, he's a senior vice president at Toyota for 50 years. I met him this last, I don't know, couple months. He let me use this slide, which I just love so much. Take a look at this now. He's saying, here's some examples of automation with a human touch, which we call Jidoka. And he says, take a look at this. Now, here's an andon, and everything's working great. It's on yellow. And if you look at the next job coming in, the next job, he says, you can't read this, but I'll tell you what it says. This little blue thing here, right here, the blue is, it says it's a blue part. I want you to make a blue part next. Okay, great. Look at the process. It's a red part. Process 3 is red. The whole line stops. I want you to stop there and think about this. Paul Akers is a genius, but Ritsuo Shingo goes to his plant, watches, and says, you need to do lean and find the source of the waste. Go to the source. He says it's like a river. The river picks up steam and it gets faster and faster. There's no way to block that river. But if you go right upstream, right where it started, you can kick over a pedal and change the direction. And this is what it's saying. Automation with a human touch, build in Jidoka, remove the red part, the blue goes, the line starts up again. This is Jidoka. We can do it everywhere. Now, this is a great slide. I can't give it to you. The slides you don't have, I can't give them to you because I was told that they'd lock me up in jail one day. This is going to end. Okay, we're going to steal from the Japanese and R&D, rob and duplicate. Okay, next slide. Taiichi Ohno, manufacturing genius. Again, watch the video. I don't want to spend a lot of time on Taiichi. Everybody loves Taiichi. He was one of the hated individuals that got the most results. I love it. Okay, PDCA is at the core of lean thinking. At the core, plan to do something, do it, check, and then adjust. In every business I've been in, the plan, check, and adjust have been kind of thrown out the window. We're struggling as a group with no capability to sustain systems. We do, and it destroys it. Now here's a quick what lean is. Everything is a process. Jeff Liker says, and he's right, of course. Input is inventory. There's something coming in. It's a process. There's an output, and there's inventory on both sides. We have a lot of disconnected processes in the company. When we start locking those processes together, magic happens. What does this mean? Again, locking something together means the downstream operation, the customer, internal customer, pulls what they want, and the upstream operation delivers, and problems pop up. Some small ones, some big ones. The small ones are handled by the work group. The big ones get collected. We collect information. They go into a hopper called Hoshin Kanri here. We select which ones we want to work on, and we put them into what's called a PDCA coin. And we decide, yeah, that's worth A3, or Toyota business practice thinking, so we're going to actually spend time on it and fix it. The other ones are priority 2. As we lock our processes closer and closer together and this system starts working, we get people development through the process. And here's the fundamental thing that I learned. It's so important. Process is easy. People development takes 10 times longer than process. You have to be patient. Now, this is where most organizations, 95%, are not, and this is where lean completely fails, because the manager is not allowing the worker, the employee, or their customer, hopefully at some point, to catch up, to get their thinking going, get their the dopamine going in their brain, actually have some successes so they feel good about coming to work. I heard the most amazing thing. Netflix today, Netflix does not have a holiday policy. Okay, they don't have a holiday policy because you can take a holiday whenever you want. And ever since they said that, productivity's gone through the roof. Okay, when you want to do something, it's so amazing that you can't pull people away. The other thing I used to say is you're just as likely to make a hard worker slow down as you are to make a slow worker speed up. So think about it. It's all about the habits, all about what they see. You've got to be patient because most people don't have this passion. Most people don't have this purpose. And you've got to help them find it. Help them find it, and you won't have an issue. All right, problem solving should be aspirational. You should be driving towards a business and people purpose. I didn't know what that meant. I went to Japan. I had to understand it. Here it is. Let me explain real briefly. This is a statue. And we went to GC Dental. GC Dental is the #2 quality company in all of Japan. And they were talking about Amida. Amida is a Buddhist statue, and it was done by the author. And what they believe is by helping move, this is talking, I'm so distracted, helping move the industry forward, you are saved. So can you imagine moving your industry forward, and GC dental industry, moving that forward, and you are saved as a human being? That's some real big people purpose. It's amazing. Then you get your ideal state, set some targets, you find out what your current state is, and here's the aspirational gap. And I'll tell you something. You want to do an experiment, here it is. Create a gap for somebody. Now, one of my students in Belgium, he says, George, you're wearing glasses. I said, yeah, I'm wearing glasses because I need glasses. Are you nearsighted or farsighted? I said, oh, I'm nearsighted. I can see really close, but I can't see far away. But I like, you know, kind of wearing them because they protect me. That's my excuse. And he says, George, I went and got eye surgery. It's so great. It's the best thing that ever happened. They did one eye, then they did the other eye. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I'm passionate about this eye surgery. It's the best thing that ever happened. You should do it, George. Do it, do it, do it. Okay. I left that meeting, and I told Joanne, I got to go get eye surgery now. This guy went and created a gap for me. It's freaking amazing. The guy is so passionate about getting eye surgery done. He wants me to get eye surgery done, and I'm thinking I should go get it done. Think about a gap you can create for one of your employees in the same way, but you have to be passionate about that gap. You got to get there. You got to show them. You got to lead the way, and that's so important. Then you set little targets to get there. You do PDCA. Then you create what's called creative tension and problem solving. That's Jeff's model. Here is Mike Rother's model. He called it the improvement kata. Kata is pattern, okay? It's a pattern. Understand the direction, grasp the current condition, establish the next target condition, iterate your way towards the target condition, and that's problem solving. Instead of using the word problem solving, Mike Rother used improvement kata. This is what comes out of it. It's a kata, it's a pattern. This is great. Miyagi, if you remember Miyagi, I don't know who the age is, but some of you are my age and older. Paul, you remember Mr. Miyagi. Ralphie is the student, and he was doing wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off all day, and then finally Mr. Miyagi said, listen, you just built the memory. You just created a skill, and he started punching him, and little Ralphie boy starts blocking all the punches. It was great. And we know Jackie Chan if we're younger, and we saw the new movie with Will Smith's son. Good. And he says, Gung Fu lives in everything we do. Gung Fu lives in how we treat people. This is philosophical. We need to create Lean Fu or something. We've got to do something. I'm creating a book called Mind Kung Fu. I want you guys to buy it. It'll be out in 5 years. I'm just telling you, it's going to be there. Here's a guy at Hilltop, and one of the crazy things is this president is amazing. He's not interested in reducing cost. He says that is not what we do here. We don't do Kaizen, we do Kaikaku. And we make big improvements. The learning curve used to be 5 years to do programming. Now it's 3 years with their system. And everywhere they do something now, I'm going to press play and I'm going to reduce the volume for a second. And I want you to watch this. 100,000 pills per hour go through this machine. 100,000 pills per hour. The machine that is the best before this one did 30,000 pills. there's light that comes on, and it looks for any anomalies on the surface of the pill, any anomalies, whether it's production, it's lint, it's whatever, any anomalies on the surface of the pill, and it calls them OK or NG, no good. Now, I'm thinking when we're doing this tour, what is the cost for this machine? And I asked the person, I said, well, what is the cost for the machine? And he says, what do you mean, what is the cost? Well, you know, is it the same amount of money as the $30,000 machine? He says, well, first of all, it's on half the space, so you're saving space, and it does 3 times the amount, therefore you have 3 machines instead of 1. He says, we charge on value, we don't charge on cost. And I'm going, oh, yeah, of course, we charge on value. Great idea. Who does that? I mean, the other half of the world does that. We better start doing it now. We've got to charge on the deliverable, the value we deliver to others, not what our cost is, and we have a cost-plus structure. That's crazy. We can't compete with the Japanese on the cost-plus structure, even with their high labor rate. So it's over for a lot of us. Standards. Henry Ford, we know the quote. I'm not going to quote it. Creating standards, what do you see for movement? Now this is important because I got another slide. Take a look at step 1, step 2, step 3, and somebody's moving to get some work done. All of that motion falls into the non-value added category. And in order to see it, in order to what's called visualize the motion, visualize the work, you put it into a standard worksheet. I'm going to show you a quick video. Again, in Japan, we went to a dojo, and in this dojo, what they did was they looked at a radiator and they said, here's an example of a radiator. We're going to videotape it 5 times, and we're going to take the count. And I'm going to just show you the quick radiator, and there's 3 work cells. This is work cell 1, that's work cell 2, this is work cell 3, and it goes down, and they're doing it over again. There's work cell 1, 2, and 3. This is really fast. I put that in there just so you can see it. Now what's happening? They're saying, guess what? We have a standard operation combination sheet. We need to visualize this work because we can't see the work while we're standing there. And I'm going to tell you something else. I saw a, I don't know, 1,000-ton press change over in about 2 minutes, and I thought it was crazy. He says we used to videotape in slow motion to see the waste. Now you look at this, takt time versus cycle time. The cycle time and takt time represent what is versus what should be, and there's a gap. He's going to blow up this side of the combination sheet. In other words, zoom in, and he says we need to start drawing the flow. So a manual operation would be like a bar. Put the radiator on the assembly table. We timed it. It took 2 seconds. So you put it on there 2 seconds. Then it took 2 seconds of walking. Now what does that mean, walking? So you got to go from 2 seconds, and before you can start the next operation, it's 4 seconds. Now this guy's funny. So you got to have fun once in a while. And I took that video, and then now you look at the walking motion, and you're visualizing how work is performed. Think of this as visualization. Then you start from 4 seconds to do the next step, which is put the right and left cover on the assembly plate. That was another 2 seconds. So now you're going to go to 6 seconds, and you just watch somebody do it, and this is called the skill. In classroom skill, and then you go do it on the shop floor. And we call that on the shop floor stuff called on-the-job development with a coach, of course. Somebody's going to help you. Somebody's going to watch, you're going to record, you're going to say, what is happening here? And in all of this, what you're trying to do is visualize the work being done. And I thought this was important enough to add in. And this is Sherry. She just won a huge award in Lean, Women in Business. But look at this. They even give you a key so you don't go too far. And you see that red spot there is the start of Workstation 2. It says, here's where Workstation 2 starts. And they looked at the operator balance chart, and they said, look, we're so out of balance, and they showed exactly how to balance it. We got so much of an education. I'm going to be doing this training with the videos, and it's going to be about an hour of video. but we're all going to participate during the Washington Summit. So if you guys are showing up, that's what you got to look forward to. Non-cyclical work, again, you can use this. Here's standards. You cannot have continuous improvement without standards. I think a lot of people say it, but they don't really know it. All right, before we get to now what's called lean leadership, I got to ask, can you do a quick poll, Paul, and just find out how much more time we got and how much more time do we have? And I don't know if we should finish through the slides real quickly and then have questions, or let's stop now so people connect.
We have about 15 questions right now, and we've got 7 minutes left on the webinar, but you're welcome to go farther. People can bail out and they can come back and watch the video later.
I think we should probably, I'll rifle through the rest of the slides in 7 minutes, and then people can ask questions. Is
Perfect.
that all right? Okay. And I'm sorry, everybody, we just took a little too long. I already cut down the slides, but at least you have a video of what I did in one take, so you have all this anyways. But let's see what I'm passionate about here. The lean leadership development model starts with the core values of Toyota. Your company has to have core values. And then Gary Convis and Jeff Leiker worked together, and Jeff disseminated 4 steps to lean leadership. Number 1, the leader has to commit to self-development. Commit to improving oneself. Great idea. Then, as they commit, they're going to get coached, and the first thing I want them to do is start coaching others. It's so important that they actually coach somebody else as part of their coaching, and that's what Sam and I did. Supporting daily Kaizen, what does that mean? Okay, wonderful. This is another huge area of what daily improvement means and how leader standard work applies and everything else. And finally, create vision and align goals. This is Hoshin Kanri. It was started way back in Japan. Toyota's done it, and I'll tell you why Toyota's been successful. And I want to get to that slide right away. We're going to miss the poll question. Here it is. This is the slide. I think this is so important. Typical North American Toyota organizations have Mr. Miyagi. They have them. What is that they have Mr. Miyagi and we don't? And this came about in the 80s and early 90s when we went through what's called re-engineering. We determined that middle-level management was non-value added, so we got rid of them. And in the process, we got rid of our ability to coach the little Ralphies that came into the organization. Now our little Ralphs are big Ralphs, and they don't know how to coach the little Ralphs in the mastery of called production and quality at the source and Jidoka and just in time. We don't have that ability. That's why I'm all for getting rid of the consultants and let's get the managers to start developing themselves, going through the process. You know, get a coach. There's a lot of coaches out there, and start working it the right way. Use the book, because I'll tell you, after 20 years, I got so much out of it. Finally, I was in Japan, and I saw this one company that just amazed me, and they said, we've had a Toyota coach come in here once in a while, and we had this big problem. They said the quality on this problem, we couldn't get it to the level we needed to. And I said, oh, yeah, okay, I've seen that before. Spot welding, and 2 parts come together, and I couldn't solve that problem either. I've seen that problem before, and the parts are just so different. I mean, even if they were to spec, you can't hold a high enough tolerance to actually prevent defects. They went to the Toyota master, and he says, listen to the part. Now, normally somebody says, listen to the part. What do? Hold it up to your ear? No, these guys actually cut the part in half, right where the failure was, and they kept on doing it for months until they understood what the real problem was, redesigned the part, and went to 0 defects. Now, how many managers allow employees that kind of time, take 2 months, but get to 0 defects? How many managers allow that? They got a team together, cut the parts. The guy said, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just cutting parts at one point and trying to figure it out. We kept on thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, and then it came. This is where the patience comes in. All right, coaching and developing others. It's about the kata. Create patterns that allow your organization to go and do this everywhere. the direction at any level comes from above. Above will give you the next target condition, which is your direction. So in other words, think about it. You're an employee, you're going to your boss and you're saying, what can I help with? Well, they'll tell you what you can help with. That's the direction. But with Hoshin Kanri, you're connecting it to all levels in the organization. Kaizen, you need a team leader, team member type of environment, because this is the heart of Kaizen. This is the heart of how it happens. Now, it doesn't have to be 1 to 5 or 1 to 8 or 1 to 10, but it has to be somewhere between 1 to 4 and 1 to 12, somewhere around there. You cannot coach more than 8 people at any point in time. And as a second coach, if I'm coming in and I see somebody coaching 8 people, I'm only interested in one coaching cycle. I want to follow one person, not all 8. And as I coach the coach, they're going to tell me what they're thinking, what they're doing on their next coaching cycle, what their thoughts are. And as I make a correction with them or they make it for themselves, they're going to apply it to all of their other learners. Okay, here's another Jidoka, automation with a human touch. When I was in Toyota, they had call buttons in Toyota City and they had pull buttons in Lexus in Kyushu. So these pull buttons, when a worker comes to work, and this is what Gary Convis said to everybody at Toyota Kentucky is, come to work, that's expected, and pull the button, pull the cord. And that's all they did. The workers were there to say, here's a problem, I got a problem, I'm going to pull the cord. Good. The car moves, and it moves to this yellow line. If the car moves to the yellow line and the team leader comes in, the team leader is asking a couple of questions. Number 1, what's wrong? What happened? And the worker says, I failed to tighten the screw. Good. They get to it. And if the car does not move past that yellow line, everything's okay. It's cleared. Good. Goes back. But if it passes the yellow line, all of a sudden there's a shutdown. Buzzer goes, it stops. And what happened in one of our webinars, Jeff Liker said, listen, there's an assembly line, and if you're stopping the line every time, you're crazy. And they said, what? That's what Toyota does. No, he says, that's not what they do. They actually have a little bit of a buffer. And I talked to Amazawa. He says, we got about a 4-car buffer in a few key spots on the line for variation's sake, so that we don't stop the line all the time. And Jeff Liker says, that's just sanity. It's insane to stop the line everywhere. So they do build in a buffer. But Amazawa also said that if Ono was here and he knew we did that, he would have fired everybody. Okay. He believes in the ideal, get to the ideal, and they built some buffer back into Toyota. All right, finally, create vision and align goals. Hoshin Kanri is about taking your corporate level goals at the top and working on a coach relationship horizontally and vertically in the organization, problem solving and developing people on the job. And here's what's called the floor management development system. There's a whole system. And again, it describes it in the book very well. And you'll see their target met. They don't work on everything all the time. When there's a gap, they work on it. When a target is met, they put that on hold for the next 2 weeks or until they get their targets back in place. So there is a little bit of a reckoning between how much work they do. And below that, there's the PDCA cycles. Okay, I think I'm going to avoid the Scion example. And this is the last one. This is an A3, the best A3 ever. Ernest Hemingway was in a bar in Paris. I went to this bar where his friends challenged him. I bet you can't tell a story in 6 words. And an A3 is a story. So if you were to put a story together in 6 words, what would it be? And he took on their bet, took on the challenge, and he has here, for sale, baby shoes, never used. Now, brevity is what A3 is about. It's about working this over and over. I used to think you could do an A3 in a week, but no, it might take a month. So you go through what's called Toyota business practices to do an A3. It's a PDCA cycle, and 5 out of the 8 steps are the P part. You're planning for 5 out of the 8 steps. Then the D, C, and A. All right, I think we're done. Here's my final statement, and this is a video of Santorini, Greece. My 50-year vision if you can help me with it, is to make Santorini the largest blue zone in the world. And if you don't know what a blue zone is, it is a place where people live to 100 years old and more than 10 times the average. And you have to win the lottery to live to 100 years old. But Icaria is a blue zone, and it's right beside my island of Santorini, so I thought we could just import the food. We got the same food there, and I'll see you guys there. I'll go there every summer, and Tom Lawless is taking a group out there, and I'm taking Ritsuo Shingo out there this summer, so if you guys want to join us, email Tom Lawless. But what a beautiful place. I'm starting to go back there every year, and 20, 30 years from now, we're going to retire there. And 50 years from now, Paul Akers and I are going to party on this island. Everybody's invited. Okay, that's you too, Paul. You better do that. And I think that's all I got. Maybe one more slide. Yeah. Kojak Restaurant was the restaurant I used to own, or I used to run when I was 9 years old in the window order, and I fell in love with Who Loves You, Baby. If you know Kojak Telly-Savalas, that's what he used to say. All right, thank you so much. If you rate the webinar, that'd be great. We're going to stay behind for half an hour and answer all the questions you might have. I hope you enjoyed it. Email me, call me, send me a Voxer, send me a WhatsApp. Listen, anything you need, I'm here. Paul said this, and I think you guys would be best served to listen to Paul. He's such a good guy. You can have anything you want in the world. All you have to do is help enough people get what they want. And I want to help you get what you want. Whatever you need from me, let me know. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everybody realizes we're going to continue and answer some questions. If you do need to drop off, just come back onto the ASQ YouTube channel and you can listen to the questions at the end. So first question, how do you get leaders to forget their past thinking? And Sam and Tom, you guys are live as well.
Okay, so Sam, why don't you start? Tom, you start, and make it quick, guys, and then I'll do the same.
Okay. Wow, that's a really good question.
Just pass, Sam. No problem. Just pass.
Yeah. I think you've got to unlearn what you already know so that you can relearn the new methodologies. And I actually don't know how I did that, but I think probably finding the passion and wanting that to move forward was how I did that.
And I think they have to want to change, and that all comes from, once again, coaching and training and developing, and everybody needs a coach.
Okay, and here's my answer. I learned this from Norman Bodak. We all have habits. It's so much easier to replace a bad habit with a good one. I drink coffee, and now I'm starting to drink water as an example. If I grab 5 waters, I'm going to have 5 less coffees. So how do you get lean leaders to change? This is interesting. Well, start doing the lean activities and get people excited. What will happen is the thank yous will come about. You as a manager or coach, you can encourage. You set up the environment for that kind of encouragement, and people will migrate to this. You got to wait for them. Now, one thing I always used to do is in a lean implementation, I'd know I was making headway when somebody came back and said, George, I went home and I 5S'd my garage. And I thought, oh, wow, this is working. Okay, you don't get them to change. You just set up the environment, encourage people, do it. They see the results, they'll grab it. I mean, I've seen people reject it, but if you show them the way, they'll make it happen. That's my thought.
I know this is something you've been talking about the whole time here, but what's your best advice to emerging leaders?
Sam, Tom, go ahead. We've got a process here, guys.
All right. You're going to have to push hard, but the rewards are better than you can imagine.
And I'm sorry again, Paul. What was the question? It was on guidance for emerging leaders.
What's your advice? What's your best advice to emerging leaders?
Listen to your people.
Yeah, and my thought is, if you're an emerging leader, you better have passion. Follow your passion, and don't let anything get in your way. That's my advice. Okay.
How do we
Let's
balance?
Questions. I like the round robin. I'm learning a lot from Sam and Tanya.
How do we balance the need for the management of change with empowering employees?
I think you need to forget about the need and worry about the empowerment of employees. Your people will do what's right. You need to have faith and trust that you've got the right people on board, and allow them to guide you. You shouldn't need to do it the other way around.
Yeah, and I agree. I think empowering your people, once again, having respect for your people, I think that's key. Yeah, are you going to have to manage? Yeah, you've got to lead. Okay, and I think that's the biggest thing, is getting away from the word manage and lead, and people follow a leader. And you know, they'll follow you if you respect them.
Yeah, I agree with both Sam and Tom. I'll add one thing. I just had one of my students tell me about a problem that he had. He said the scheduling person and the operations leader come out on the shop floor, and they're pushing people around. They stifle when they come out. Okay. My other scenario is starts with a story, and I want you to listen to this and be scared to death. Scared to death. Beware, somebody told me this, I'll never forget the way they said it. Beware of any animal with forward-facing eyes. And I thought, oh yeah, they're all predators. Okay, interesting. Beware of any animal with forward-facing eyes. We're all predators with forward-facing eyes. Think about that. Now, what I suggest is that we look at the process together, shoulder to shoulder. We're looking at a process to avoid that craziness. So think about adding that. Look together, understand together, so we can do things together, but never look into the other person's eyeball when you're trying to communicate to them, because that scares the hell out of people. Okay.
How do you sell, in quotes, lean up and down if you're starting in the middle of the organization?
I've seen it so many times. Sam, come on, tell them.
You get in there and do it. You lead by example. You show the passion, the rewards, the results, and people will follow. If you can show them how good it is, people will follow, and they will get on board, but they need to know how good it is first. People are scared of the unknown, and they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, and I agree with Sam. I've went into several places and worked with the teams on the floor, and change has been created by doing that, and everybody wants to be part of a winner, right? So leadership starts getting on board. Everybody starts getting on board when the wins start to happen.
Okay, I agree with both of them. And I'll say this. Look, there's only one caveat I got to any craziness in the world, and that's passion. You have passion. If the workers aren't moving fast enough and you got some passion, you got to do something with your life, go do it. Go do it. Don't wait. I mean, if your boss cannot give you enough leeway to go get done what you know you can do for the organization, get the hell out of there. That's my opinion. But I've never found any time less than 2 years at an organization, because they've always been able to keep me busy. Sometimes you outlive it, yes, but give it 2 years at least. That's my 2 cents.
At what point do you make someone a mentor versus a lean implementer?
Everybody,
all the time. Come on, Sam.
Everyone, yeah, like George said, everyone's a mentor, everyone's an implementer. It's but people put themselves in those positions, I think, and once you've enabled them to do that, they will take that step themselves, and you'll see that in them.
Yeah, we all have mentors, we all have coaches, and we all implement.
Yeah, we all have skills. I mean, really, you want to identify what skill somebody's better at than the other individual and get them set up.
Can you explain creative tension a little bit more? You spent a lot of time on
Sure.
that.
Sam, can I take this over?
You can take this one, George.
Sure. All right, look at the gap. Creative tension. Let me say this. When I was initially saying I'm going to go up that mountain, Paul Akers, August 5th last year, I'm going to go up that mountain, I'm thinking, I don't know how big this freaking mountain is, man. I don't even walk around the block. I'm going to go up a mountain? That's creative tension for me. I mean, I said I'm going to do it, so I'm going to do it. If I die trying, I'm going to do it. So a month before that, I started walking. I started walking around the block. I started walking with my wife and her friends, and then I started taking over. I started walking to the shopping mall. I would walk in the mall, and it was freezing in Winnipeg, Canada. I walked around the block 32,000 steps before I went to see Paul, and or that was after. But the point is, I was walking like a madman. I walked to this one consulting job I had, and it took me 2 hours. I had blisters on my toe. Creative tension is what you create for yourself. Nobody told me to go walk. If they told me to go walk, I wouldn't have done it. I would not have done it. If I told Sam to get up at 3:30 in the morning, I'm hoping he'd say, you're crazy. You work for me. I don't work for you. Okay.
It was 2:30.
Sam, we have a question specifically for you. What was your biggest challenge in sustaining lean at your organization?
Well, I think it was myself and my passion to see the people in the organisation succeed. I had to make massive changes in my beliefs and my actions to see other people start to engage and develop their own passions. So, yeah, I think I was the bottleneck. I was the person holding it back, and until I had that realisation, then the company was stuck, and I wasn't going to be able to work with my people and empower them to be all they can be.
That's important to know that Sam basically runs the place, but the president is still the president.
How can we plan the journey for excellence for ourselves?
Individual excellence or ourselves as in a department?
Individual.
Find your passion. Find your passion and don't let anything get in your way of achieving that.
Yeah, I agree. It's passion.
Okay, so I'm going to say one thing, and I'm going to tell you it's so important. Norman Bodek talked about a mantra, and he used to use Hare Krishna mantra. He says, you have mantras all over the place. Just start with something that you think you might want to do. So let's say I want to start a jewelry store, as an example. Joanne might like jewelry. I want to start a jewelry store. Just start saying it out loud in the mirror 10 times in the morning for 10 seconds. That's it. Norman Bodek, at 83 years old, says this: I'm going to get better and better every day in every way. I'm going to get better and better every day in every way. Now for me, I'm telling you what my challenge is. I want to deliver the best public speech in the world in Lean. Okay. My other best challenge is I want to do a great job in webinars. I want to do an excellent job, the best ever in a webinar. So I'm going to say that to myself. Then I'm going to believe it. Then I'm going to start taking action. Then I'm going to say, what is it I'm missing today that I could do better in the future? And then I'm going to start closing the gap on that. But if I don't have something out there, which could start with a simple talk. You know, when I started losing weight, I didn't believe I was losing weight. And then all of a sudden I started talking to myself. Then I started putting a picture up on my fridge. Then I started connecting weight loss with speaking. Then I started connecting speaking with other things. And now I'm thinking, I'm going to live to 120 years old. It's crazy. It's crazy. Nobody lives to 120 years old. Now, I used to say, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken care of myself. These are defeatist sayings. So think about all the things you say to yourself that defeat you. Okay, that's I don't know, that's it.
Two questions left. How is the right amount of challenge measured?
Oh, well, I think going back to the slide that George showed earlier, you need to monitor your people very closely and work with them and have a really great relationship, and not just a work relationship, but a personal relationship. So you can see how they're actually going, and make sure you're not stressing them out too much. You do want them to feel pressure, and you do want them to be a little bit stressed, but you want them to perform and feel good about what they're achieving. So you need to work very closely with people and make sure you build those relationships. Understand your people, and give everything of yourself so that they can't hold that against you, and so that they see that they can give it back to you as well.
Tom?
Yeah, I agree. You have to know your people. You know, I retired from the military, from the reserve system, and one of the keys there is know your people. And I knew all of my troops. I knew what made them tick, and we did a lot of this same stuff, Lean Six Sigma, in the military. So, yeah, I would agree with Sam.
And I think of Sam. I mean, Sam's a perfect student. I think of Sam, and I think about what he's done. We started off on Voxer, and I get daily reports from Sam, and twice a day at times, and he actually just tells me his thoughts. That's how it started. Each chapter of the book, what did we do, Sam? Tell them what we did. Each chapter of the book as we went through it.
Well, each chapter I had 10 moments that really, like light bulb moments, aha moments. 3 things that I thought would really stand out from those, and then the one big light bulb that went off that I tried to implement that week. I tried to make something different happen that week, and that was an experiment. And every day, or at least once a day, I discussed it with George, and we started to see success. And it was something about me, that a light bulb that went off within me. So I owned it. I had the passion for it. I wanted to see it succeed, and from that, just everything grew exponentially.
Absolutely. And every chapter I used to say to Sam, just implement one small thing. Tell me what you're going to implement this chapter. And also, as we finish the yellow belt, tell me over 8 weeks what you want to do. And what did you say, Sam? Over 8 weeks, what did you want to do?
I wanted to start getting fit and healthy and lose some weight, to make my wife and my kids happier, to make me happier, and to live longer, to look after my family.
And what do we do?
We set a target. We set a structured goal and started communicating daily about that. I got involved in a group on Voxer where I report at least once every day, and it's a big support network. So basically, to lose weight and to better myself, I started talking to people.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the crazy part. Is Sam's starting to lose weight. Normally I'd have to give him to somebody else, but this time at least I could coach somebody that wants to lose weight too. At least I'm in that position today. So we're a team. We go together, but one thing I do is I never tell them the answer. I wait for them to tell me what they're passionate about, what direction they want to go, what they see happening, and then I make it a project. I give them a challenge, and I actually listen for Voxer. If I get 3 Voxers a day for a week, and then it drops to 1, I know the last conversation we had, something I must have said must have struck them wrong, you know? They stopped talking a little bit, and then I got to encourage them, Sam, you got to tell me what's going on. I mean, I know that 3 compliments and 1 critical comment should work for you, okay? I give you 1 critical comment. Why are you climbing up? Don't be a girl, man. Come on. And so what happens is we become friends first, and then we're accountable to one another. And I don't know how many times Sam's called me and said, George, where are your calories? You're supposed to mark your calories. You said you'd do it, and you promised Bradley, his student, I promised his student I would do it, because then I would also connect with him that way, and I'm actually bettering myself in the process. Now I'm accountable to this team. So build it in. Don't make it about the other person only. Try to better yourself in the process.
Okay, the final question. In 3 sentences or less, what does it take to become a master coach?
Oh. I'm not sure I can answer that, because I don't know if I'm a master coach. I think it takes belief, it takes a passion for something, and it takes building the right support networks around you to enable that to happen.
Tom?
Yeah, I'd say it takes passion, and it takes compassion, and it also takes knowing that the coach has a coach.
Okay, and I'll give you a really profound answer for me because it applies to me. Number one, you have to have great character, and if you're not starting with great character, don't even start. Then I'll give you 3 words: shu, ha, ri. And in the book, shu means copy exactly as your coach suggests. So I do shu, and I've done shu with Jeff for a while and Norman Bodek for a while. I do things exactly as I'm told. Then ha is diverging a little bit from the kata, diverging a little bit, adding my own stuff in it. Like I'll give you an example with the reporting of the calories. As of today, I'm only having 3 meals with 600 calories or less, 2 snacks of 80 calories in between those. I'm diverging from the kata. And ri is discarding the kata completely because you've mastered it. Shu, ha, ri, and 10,000 hours. Okay, that's it.
I appreciate everybody for hanging on for so long. One last thing here, and let's go from each one of you. Any last words for the webinar here for your audience?
I guess I'll go first again. If you do one thing, read that book that George showed earlier, Developing Lean Leaders at All Levels, because it's life-changing and empowering and enabling.
Yeah, I would say the same. Read that book and find a coach.
All right, and Paul, here's what I'll say. It's not over. We want to give. We love the industry. I think, Sam, will you field calls if somebody calls you?
Of course I will.
Okay. And Tom, are you in the same boat?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Look, I heard of this thing called pay it forward. I think it's crap. That means you must have got something in order to pay it forward. We want to give. And if you think of the Red Hot Chili Pepper song, the guy's Greek. You know, he says, give it away now. Okay. We want to give. Like, call us, anything you need for advice, help, even to be friends. Call us anytime.
I am Paul Harbath, the 2016 chair of the ASQ Lean Enterprise Division webinar series. I want to thank George, Sam, and Tom for their presentation, and thank you for listening to Developing Lean Leaders at All Levels, a Practical Guide. If you have any questions about the content of this webinar, feel free to contact George, Sam, or Tom directly. Next month, our presenter will be David Hagen. Lean can be applied to areas other than manufacturing, medical, and government. Join David of the Bolt Company as he introduces us to lean construction and design methodologies and the integrated lean project delivery contracting method. Learn about the advantages and disadvantages of this delivery type, the difference between lean and integrated project delivery, and much more. Understanding how lean applies to other industries is a powerful way to deepen your understanding of lean. You don't want to miss this one. The American Society of Quality Lean Enterprise Division webinar series is a place for you to hear the best of the best in the lean industry and learn more about how to apply lean in your application. The American Society of Quality Lean Enterprise Division is a global network of professionals helping individuals and organizations apply proven leading-edge lean principles and practices to achieve dramatic results for your personal and organizational success. Come lean with us.